Are you guys ready for the draft? Woo! It is just around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. The draft is almost here. This is the biggest draft in a long time in terms of speculation and possibilities when we're talking about the Miami Dolphins. Unfortunately, this didn't happen last year when Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen, all these big-name quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson, were up for selection. But this year, I think we have a lot of underrated quarterbacks that actually would be fairly high in the 2020 draft as well. Like, I feel like they're just not getting the praise that they deserve. But it's a super exciting week. There's a lot of stuff happening this week. It's jam-packed of fun stuff. And hopefully this is going to be a part of your week. And I hope it is, because this podcast is going to be fun. If you're not familiar with what we're going to be doing on this podcast, we're going to be doing a fan mock draft where fans submitted who they think should be selected with picks 1 through 13. I will be selecting the 13th pick for the Dolphins in this particular mock draft. So it's really exciting. This is going to be a really exciting episode. So if you like that, hopefully you stick around. But first, we got to get into the news, because this is the show that brings you all the news you need to know about. There's a lot of stuff that we have. There's a lot of speculation, especially a week before the draft. So we'll start with some speculation news. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. The Dolphins plan to select the quarterback in the 2019 draft. This comes from Pro Football Rumors again. And going with Ryan Fitzpatrick and two backups, Jake Rudock and Luke Falk, who have combined to throw 5 NFL passes, the Dolphins probably have the thinnest quarterback depth chart in football. They plan to accumulate or add to the group soon. Armando Salguero of the Miami Herald notes, Miami is targeting a quarterback in this draft, but it is not known if the team wants a first-round passer or a whatever round passer. The Dolphins have met with Dwayne Haskins, Drew Lock, and Daniel Jones, and Kyler Murray. I think they've met with every quarterback. I think they've met with Will Grier. They've met with everybody. If the team most linked to a wait until 2020 strategy regarding a starting quarterback passes on one this draft, it's definitely eyeing one could be a backup, Salguero adds. So Miami could be a mid-round player for one of this draft's second-tier passers. So basically what this is saying is, like, the Dolphins are definitely taking a quarterback. Does not necessarily mean it's going to be in the first round. We just don't know. Could be in the mid-rounds. From everything we're hearing, it doesn't look like the Dolphins are taking a quarterback. We're going to read some more stuff about that coming up, how all signs are pointing to no. But this news is interesting. I do think the Dolphins are going to take one. I feel like the second-tier quarterbacks, I think Daniel Jones is one of them. I think he's going to be either overvalued or he'll drop in the draft. But when you talk about the mid-tier guys, I feel like Dolphins fans aren't excited about those guys. There are some good ones. Like, you talk about Will Grier. I don't like Will Grier, but he has potential to be something. Ryan Finley. You got Tyree Jackson, who's literally all talent. He has nothing else than talent. The quarterback from Auburn, Stidham, however say his name. He's got potential as well. Like, there are guys in the later rounds that have potential to be a franchise quarterback. They all have their own qualities about them. You talk about Will Grier, his accuracy is very, very good. Ryan Finley, he's just a smooth operator, fundamentally sound type of a guy. Looks like a pro when you watch him. You talk about Tyree Jackson, Jay Cutler-esque kind of a guy, Jamarcus Russell kind of a guy who's just all talent and could become something later down the line. He's not Patrick Mahomes when it comes to that. Like, Patrick Mahomes was at least polished in some areas. Tyree Jackson is all raw talent. There are other guys pushing, when you go to the mid-tier guys, so I feel like Dolphins fans aren't thinking about them enough. It's still, just because they're not the first round doesn't mean it really doesn't mean anything. They have an equal opportunity as a first-round quarterback to be great in the NFL. It does not mean that they have a lesser chance. That I feel like people, it's weird how that works sometimes. Like, people feel like just because you're a sixth rounder doesn't mean you have a lesser chance to be good. That's not true. So I feel like people need to be more excited about that. That's why I brought this story up. Obviously, it would be less exciting as getting Kyler Murray, obviously, because for obvious reasons. But it's still important. This next news story might blow the hair off of your skull, because this is a big boy news, ladies and gentlemen. This is some big boy news. If this is true, this will set a domino effect it changes the landscape of the draft. It really, really does. And I think you probably know where I'm going with this, but this is insane. If this is true, this is insane. This comes from Bleacher Report. Kyler Murray won't be taken at number 1 by the Cardinals. This is a report from CBS Sports. This is a quote from a reporter there. It doesn't say his name. It says, this is a tweet. You can go to Bleacher, your team stream, your NFL rumors to look at this if you want, or you can go to CBS Sports Twitter. This is the quote. He says, quote, "From what I've been told, they're going in a different direction. They're not going to take Kyler Murray." And this is from their podcast, I think, where this was reported. Whether this is true or not, who knows? But this would change the landscape of the draft. I mean, I don't think the Raiders are going to take him. The Giants would be the only one that I just don't know. But I feel like they're not going to take him. I don't think the Giants are taking Kyler Murray. I think Dave Gettleman is a traditional guy. I think he wants a big, strong quarterback. I don't think he believes in. I think he would be one of those guys who would be concerned about the height and the physical attributes of Kyler Murray. So I don't think they would take him. Then you really got to worry about. I think that is where the Dolphins are like, what do we do? If he gets past the Giants, to me, that's too close to us for us not to strongly consider trading up for him. He is a special player. I'm not joking around. If he was in the 2020 draft, I would put him number 2 to Tagovailoa. I think he's way better than Jake Fromm as a prospect. I think he's way better than Justin Herbert. I mean, he is. And then in the next 40 years, he would be the 3rd to 2nd best quarterback in most people's rankings. I think a lot of people think a lot of Trevor Lawrence, so maybe they would have him too. But if it was me, I would put Kyler 2, even if Trevor Lawrence is in the draft. I know that sounds crazy to a lot of people, but I personally think Kyler Murray is going to be a surefire thing. I really do believe that. And just because of how the NFL is now, the whole thing about him, I don't think it's going to matter. I really, really don't. Just because of how offenses are ran now, there's no way he doesn't have a successful NFL career. And I know that sounds ridiculous because we've seen so many prospects look like surefire things, and they don't turn out to be so surefire. And he's only had 14 starts, and he's not very experienced, but I feel like Kyler Murray, just watch him play. I mean, and even against great competition, everybody's like, oh, the defenses that he plays in this conference aren't very good. Well, when he played Alabama, it took him a while, but it didn't take him a while. But he looked amazing. When people are open, he hit them. And he made amazing plays in that game. So, we're talking about in my opinion, a special player. He's by far the best quarterback in this draft. In my opinion, he's by far the best prospect in this draft. Drew Lock is obviously second when you talk about quarterbacks in this draft, but he is a special, special player. Like I said, he isn't, in my opinion, he would be in the top 3 of the majority of people, and we're talking about professional people who get paid to do mock drafts and paid to analyze players. He would be in their top 3 in the next 3 drafts, I would say. When you talk about 2020 draft, this draft, and the 2021 draft, he would be in the top 3. And especially in terms of you talk about just prospects and physical attributes in their ceiling, he would 1,000% be in the top 3. So this is a special player. And if this report is true, going back to the original news story, if the Cardinals do not take him with the first overall pick, I don't think the Raiders are taking him, if I had to bet money. The Giants, I don't think are taking him because of Dave Gettleman. The question is how quickly do people try to trade up for him? You talk about the Bengals, you talk about the Redskins, and you talk about, obviously, us at 13. Who loves him the best, I feel like, is whoever. Does someone trade up for him? I don't think the Raiders are going to trade down. That's a tough one, man. Because how realistic is it that the Dolphins would trade up for Kyler Murray? I don't think it's... It sucks for me to say this. I just don't think they're going to do it. And that sucks. Because of the water, getting the temperature of what the Dolphins are leaning towards, it doesn't feel like Chris Greer coming out and saying that he doesn't like the experience of this draft class in terms of the quarterback position, and Kyler is obviously one of them, only starting 14 games. So that's where I kind of pause and I'm like, well, even if that doesn't happen, how relevant is it to the Dolphins? It's not very relevant because they're not in the quarterback market, and that's unfortunate. Because if he doesn't get selected by the number one, if he doesn't get selected number one overall, then that would be a shame because he is a very special player. I mean, when you compare him to other people, the only difference is their height. Now, I make that sound like it's not important, but I don't think it is. I don't think it is important now. I really don't. The way the game is played today is completely different than it was even 5 years ago. It is a completely different game. It is way safer. The quarterbacks are overly protected. I think we can all agree on that. This is the perfect era for his physical skills, the way he plays football. This is the perfect era for him to play in. There is no era in the National Football League's history that would be more perfect than right now for Kyler Murray. It completely fits his skill set to a T. So why? I just don't understand. Like, I guess it's just personal preference, you know. But I just don't. I don't see it, man. I don't understand why he isn't. Maybe he is, because maybe the Dolphins do like him. But if I was the Dolphins who need a quarterback, and listen, you can sit him this year. If you're not sold on his experience, then sit him, and he is worth a first round pick. Like he just did. Like dude, he's worth a first round pick. So he is a first round talent. That's not even a question. So he's worth it. It's not like he's not. It's not like you're projecting. It's not like you're overvaluing. He is worth it. He's just as worth it as a Christian Wilkins, a Quinnen Williams, a Dwayne Haskins, an Ed Oliver, a Rashawn Gary. Jonah Williams, Greedy Williams, he's just as worth it as any of those guys. So it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. It's just a shame. You know, I feel it sucks because I really like Kyler Murray as a player. So it sucks for me to sit here and, I mean, to be honest with you, like I just said, I just don't think the Dolphins are in the market, regardless of who's there. And that's unfortunate, man, because he's a really good player. And what I was trying to say is like you could sit him a year if you need to. If you want to go all in on Ryan Fitzpatrick, that's fine, dude. For the 2019 season, then dude, I don't care. He's worth the first round pick though. You're not getting anything like to wait till the 2020 season. Really, I mean, I love Tua. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. But Kyler has just the amount of a chance of being successful as Tua does. He literally has everything you would want in a franchise quarterback except height. But to me, that's irrelevant now. He's a 5'10" quarterback. In today's game, like I just said, it's just different, man. It's a completely different game for quarterbacks now. And it's so friendly for the quarterback. Everything's set up for the offense. For him not to succeed would be weird, in my opinion. I think he has a lesser chance of being unsuccessful than he does successful, in my opinion. And I don't want to rant about this anymore. It just sucks. Hopefully I'm wrong, and maybe this isn't even a credible report, but it would be very, very unfortunate if. I'm not saying the Dolphins have to trade all the way up into the top 5. I'm not even crazy enough to say that because you would have to give up a lot of resources to do so. But if you drop past 6, I feel like that's when you have to strongly consider it because you're really competing at that point. If he drops past 6, you're competing with the Bengals. I don't think the Jaguars are going to be involved in anything like that because they just got Nick Foles. Why would you want to cause a controversy when you just signed a quarterback to that much money? You're not going to do that, so they're out of it. The Bengals, the Redskins, and us, and the only team that's in front of us when you discuss the teams we can be competing with is the Cincinnati Bengals, and we're not even necessarily for sure that they're even in the quarterback market. So, it's a very interesting domino effect that would fall. The Broncos, but I don't think John Elway is. I don't think I don't know. I have a gut feeling that's not a. I don't think they're taking a quarterback. So I think they like Joe Flacco. So. And Joe Flacco's not old, so they can stick with him for a long time. I feel like they're just going to make the best decision, just to make the football team around him better. I just don't think they're taking a quarterback. So, they're out of it. It's just going to be interesting, man. It's going to be really, really interesting. We got to move on. I could sit here and talk about Kyler Murray forever. So let's move on to more Dolphins quarterback news. And this is why it's kind of unfortunate. Dolphins, this comes from Pro Football Rumors as well. Dolphins likely to go defensive line in first round. This comes from Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald. This quote, odds remain in favor of the Dolphins addressing their defensive line with their first round choice. That was his quote. And then we're back to the article. A lot of Dolphins fans have been hoping Miami would take a quarterback with the 13th overall pick, but the team appears to be set to punt on the position for now and take a bigger swing at it in 2020. The Dolphins appear set to roll with Ryan Fitzpatrick as their starter for the duration of the 2019 season. As much as they want to deny it, they are tanking. Now that is all opinion, but the quote is what we need to focus on because the rest of it's just crap and it doesn't matter. The quote from an insider in the Dolphins organization as a beat writer, as a reporter, that is his job, is to get information. He says, quote, odds remain in favor of the Dolphins addressing their defensive line with their first round choice. First of all, that doesn't mean they're tanking just because you don't take a quarterback with the first overall pick. That's to me, or the first, with your first pick. That to me is crazy. Just because he plays the quarterback position what the heck is that? To me, that blows my mind. Like a rookie quarterback, especially this year with all of the inexperience that some of these guys have. The fact that you think that's the difference between tanking and to me is ridiculous. That to me is so stupid. It's insane. But it's just interesting. I mean, if that's the case, maybe it changes with the whole Kyler Murray situation. The Dolphins, I will say this because we're still talking about Kyler Murray for some reason, but I will say this about Kyler Murray, that there is hope that the Dolphins have a lot of interest in him. But when he did his pro day workout, the Dolphins are the only football team to host another workout with him, and they visited with him again. So that's a little interesting. So there's something there. I feel like there's something there. And other Dolphins news that's not draft related, I feel like we can go through this really quickly. The Dolphins exercise Laramie Tunsil's fifth-year option. That comes from this also comes from Pro Football Rumors. The Dolphins will pick up their left tackle's fifth-year option. Adam Beasley of the Miami Herald tweets, this will push Tunsil's rookie deal through 2020. So there you go. Rashad Jones, there's an update here on Rashad. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. If you're not familiar with this, he's not at voluntary workouts. The combination of the Dolphins having... Okay, well, see, I'm trying to get to the... Here we go. But as of now, Jones remains as a Dolphin, and GM Chris Greer said via Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald on Twitter that he expects the veteran safety to be a part of the 2019 team. Additionally, Greer said Jones has not asked the Dolphins for a trade. So there you go. Chris Greer saying that, he's going to be a part of the 2019 team. He is not the kind of GM that says something and then does something else. He is just not that kind of a guy. So I believe him. Unless Kyler Murray is involved, we'll see. Maybe he's a package deal to trade up. Who knows? But that's really all the news. There's really nothing else to be talked about. I feel like what's the minute we're doing on here? We've done 18 minutes of news. There's some other stuff more opinion based. I feel like we should. This comes from the Sun Sentinel. This is who the Miami Dolphins should take in the first round of the 2019 draft. The only reason I bring this up is because I've talked about this a lot. Why Miami should stay at number 13. Miami has this comes from the Sun Sentinel. Miami has an opportunity to land a player with top 10 potential, a player with the kind of upside that can sometimes have more of an impact than two players of lesser talent and or potential. More importantly, this pick will set the tone for the Miami Dolphins rebuild. 1,000% I agree with this. So again, this is why they should stay still. There will be a run on quarterbacks, especially if Kyler Murray isn't picked with the first overall pick. That means the talent will bleed over to us. It will just land right in our lap. We could really get... Dude, there's an opportunity of a lot of players falling. There's rumors that Quinnen Williams is going to fall, which is crazy. If that's true, that's insane. I mean, that is a cornerstone build-around type of a player who's very, very special. In terms of other players, I mean, you talk about there's a lot of them. I mean, everybody really in the top 10 that you could think of could fall to 13. So this is an interesting opinion that I've had. I've had a lot of questions about. Do you think the Dolphins should trade down? No, because of that very reason. We're really in the sweet spot of the draft. The number may say 13, but realistically, we're going to have an opportunity of picking someone that has top 10 value. For sure. I think there's going to be someone there. I mean, Montez Sweat has the whole heart thing that's going on around right now. Obviously, he's a very, very talented player, so there's a lot there that could potentially... There's a lot of top 10 value talent guys that could potentially be there at 13. So that's why I brought that up, because it's good, I feel like that's a good strategy. I mean, Jonah Williams, there's so many players. I mean, there's a very high probability that Jonah Williams doesn't make it out of the top 10 because there's more of an importance on the right tackle position than there ever has been in the league's history, and he's a very good one. And the Jaguars are apparently very, very... they just got their big quarterback on a big contract. They need to protect him. The offensive line isn't really there. I feel like he's probably going to be a Jaguar. And they just saw the effect that Quinnen Williams had last year on the Colts, and then you look at some of the other players that have had that same effect. You talk about Zach Martin to really transcend that offensive line and to be one of the best in the National Football League. Offensive line might not be the sexiest pick, but it does help your franchise be a winner. It really, really does. And those two franchises are a great example of that. You think about the Titans, Taylor Lewan and Jake Conklin, or however you say his last name. There's so many really, really good examples of taking someone high like that. The only one that really hasn't worked out for is the Lions. They've taken a lot of offensive line in the linemen in the first round that haven't really changed that much in terms of their productivity on that particular positional group, but there's a lot of other examples that it works if you get it right. This next news story is another opinion-based thing. This comes from the Fin Fanatic. How much influence will Miami Dolphins Stephen Ross have in the 2019 NFL Draft? I feel like this is a good topic. We're not going to read the article because it's all opinion. It's not really news. But it's a good topic, and I feel like it should be discussed. I don't think he's going to have any influence on this draft. And he really, to be honest with you, you hear that he hasn't ever had influence on. If you look at some of the Dolphins' history, especially since Stephen Ross has been the owner, think about it. All the stupid news stories that we get that Stephen Ross wanted them to take this guy and this guy, they didn't do it. You think about Lamar Jackson last year. He really wanted Lamar. He really wanted Baker. He really wanted these, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen. He wanted those guys. But we didn't do anything. We sat still and got Minkah Fitzpatrick. There's other examples of that as well. There's a lot of them, of how Stephen Ross wanted something done and it didn't get done. There are other examples, especially free agency, where Stephen Ross wanted Ndamukong Suh, and apparently the rest of the front office really didn't feel that way because they didn't want to pay a player of his position that much money. But they did anyway because Stephen Ross wanted him. That's the only one that I can think of. But in terms of the draft, I can't think of one where the Dolphins picked someone that Stephen Ross wanted them to pick. That definitely did not happen in the Adam Gase era. The Joe Philbin era, I don't think it happened, in my opinion. You could maybe have an argument against that, but you think about some of the picks that we made. None of them really, some of them are so ridiculous. You think about Deion Jordan. None of those had Stephen Ross fingerprints on it at all. Devontae Parker. None of those, in my opinion, had Stephen Ross's fingerprints on it. So, no, I feel like this whole Stephen Ross's involvement in free agency, yes, for sure. But in the draft, there hasn't really been one. This last news story, before we get into the mock draft, Minkah Fitzpatrick this comes from Dolphins Wire, Minkah Fitzpatrick leaning on chaotic rookie season to improve. I'm trying to find the quote. Okay, this is his quote. He said, quote, I look back on his rookie year. He says, I look back on last year and just say it was a challenge. We didn't really know exactly what was going to happen when I got out there. What the heck is wrong with Matt Burke? If I was going to play safety, corner, nickel, or whatever it may be, said Fitzpatrick, and I played every down of those. And it's not really easy to do that, but I think it definitely prepared me. It's going to get much harder than that. You're never going to be asked to play a whole different position on a Saturday or a Friday. to me, this is unfortunate news that this is still going to be a thing with him and he doesn't have a position. I don't think that that's a good thing. And it's weird because Devin McCourty, I mean, Patrick Chung is the only one that they really moved around a lot, but they didn't really move him around. They just asked him to do different things. He still played box safety. You know, he really didn't, like, he didn't play slot corner or anything, so, or outside corner for that matter. I know he's a versatile guy, and I know he has the capability of doing it, but that doesn't mean he should do it, if that makes any sense. I feel like him being able to focus on one position and prepare for that particular job each and every single week, he would be the best at that in the National Football League if you give him that opportunity. But if you have him put his hands in many different pots, then I feel like his value kind of goes down just because of you have him. He can't really go 100% all in on one thing, and I feel like he'll be one of the best position players at that position of whatever you have him do 100%, and that's unfortunate. That he's not going to be given that opportunity. Who knows? He might, but so far, at least according to Minkah, no one has told him that. So that sucks, in my opinion, because we have players that can do everything that they want. Like, you think about the outside. I mean, we just got Eric Rowe. He's not terrible. You think about Bobby McCain. He's a really, really good slot corner. Obviously, X. Really, free safety is the only position we need, and he's a perfect candidate for that. So I don't understand why why we're doing this. I don't. He's not duct tape where he can just... to be honest with you, he doesn't need to be, because there are other players at those particular positions that can do the job just fine. We just extended Bobby McCain. Obviously, it was the previous regime, but we did give him a contract. People seem to forget that, to not do his job, apparently, because now we have Minkah Fitzpatrick who needs to fill all these positions. It's very weird. It's very weird. I just disagree with it. And it seems like Minkah doesn't like it. Even though he's like, I'm going to do it, I'm going to give it my all, but the tone and the way he talks about it, obviously, and the words that he says, he doesn't sound happy with it. And he did say previously that he would like to play one position. So it's a very interesting situation that we're going to have to monitor, but it sucks, in my opinion. I feel like he should just play one position. It is what it is. He's still a great player, regardless of what he does, but I feel like he could be a first-team All-Pro type of a player, even though I still think he is, if he played one position. If he played free safety all year, he would be one of the best. He would be a top 5 free safety. That's what I'm saying. But if you have him do all these different things, then it just gets kind of murky. Alright, so moving on from that. This next, not next news story, we're going to going into the draft, ladies and gentlemen. The draft, the mock draft that the fans have done, and we're going to be discussing that right now. We're not doing the fan Q&A this week, so I wonder how short this podcast is going to be because of that. Usually it really just kind of carries on due to the fact of me or just getting lost in questions. Now, unfortunately, not a lot of people submitted. And now I'm going to be honest with you guys. I feel like you guys failed me. Okay, you failed me for the last time. And I'm just going to be honest with you. There was a lot of people that I thought were going to participate in this particular exercise, but that just, failed to do so. And I specifically said, now I'm not hating. I'm just saying, I wish we kind of got a little bit more action going on for this. And maybe it's my fault for uploading this a day before it happened. And it probably is my fault for doing that. But I feel like a lot of you didn't understand what I was trying to say. It doesn't matter. We still got enough to do it. And everybody that's waited for this, if you're excited for this, since I had this up at the beginning, don't worry about it. We're still doing it, and it's still going to work. I just feel like what I'm really getting at is I feel like you guys just didn't understand what the heck I was saying. Okay, that's the point. That's all I'm saying. But I still appreciate everybody who did understand and did it the right way. So, let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. So I guess we'll start in order. B. Dennis, I think that's his name. He said he's obviously a long-time listener and long-time supporter of the show. As my pug wants to bark in the background, he says Cardinals will take Kyler Murray. I'll take the obvious one. Yeah. I feel like I'm I mean, obviously, hopefully they don't, but obviously, I think that's the obvious choice there. Really don't have an opinion on this. I feel like it's a stupid pick for them. But whatever. I feel like if he goes to Arizona, it's gonna be very, very hard for him to have success. I feel like that organization is just has deteriorated. Obviously, the whole Steve Wilkes situation was just a fiasco. It did not end well for them. I feel like it's just a really murky. I mean, they got Kingsbury in there. Who's really making the decision in the organization? Like, they picked their head coach's staff that they hired. Like, why would you do that? I mean, that kind of comes with the job. At least give the guy every opportunity to succeed. Very weird situation down there in Arizona. I feel like not a lot of people have talked about that. When they hired Kiff, or however you say his first name, Kingsbury, they picked the staff for him. He did not pick his own coaching staff. Very, very odd. Very odd. That would be like if Stephen Ross picked the coaching staff for Brian Flores. Or Chris Greer did it. Like, that's very weird. So, what the heck's going on with that organization? Also, apparently the Dolphins have strong interest in Christian Wilkins. Forgot to tell you that. I think the news came from the Miami Herald, I believe. Just a quick little, could be a smokescreen or whatever, but apparently the Dolphins have strong interest in him, his professionalism, and his play. He's a very interesting prospect for the Dolphins to keep your eye on. That's why he's in the thumbnail. Moving on from that, so Dennis, with the first overall pick, has selected for the Arizona Cardinals Kyler Murray, and he says, I'll take the obvious one. Let's see here. Trying to find, did someone pick for the 49ers? I believe someone did pick for the 49ers. Okay, here we go. This next pick, the San Francisco 49ers are up, and Mario selects for the San Francisco 49ers, Nick Bosa. So that was Mario's selection for the 49ers. I completely agree. I feel like this is going to happen. Nick Bosa, very versatile. I feel like he could play both schemes, 3-4 and 4-3. They obviously play a 3-4. They might stand him up to rush him. Schematically, it's interesting. I feel like Josh Allen fits them better, and just because that's his natural position, and he cannot line up inside on a 3-4. Nick Bosa, I don't think he can do that, and he's not explosive enough necessarily to be an outside kind of a guy. But I don't know. But he's obviously a good, very good player. I feel like he's overrated, but he's still a very, very good player. And I feel like the way the NFL talks about Nick Bosa, this is a solid pick and prediction by you, Mario. I feel like this is going to happen, especially if the Cardinals don't pick him. But I do feel like he fits a 4-3, more traditional, hand in the dirt on the edge type of defensive end, just like his brother. Not necessarily someone who's in a 3-4 defense, but I just don't think it's the greatest fit for the 49ers. But I do think they will pick him for sure. They should pick Josh Allen because he's just the better fit and player, in my opinion. Shh, pug. Shh. All right, moving on. I think who's next? The Jets. Yeah. Let's see. Did someone select for the Jets? Yes, someone did. Take Me Out did, or Tech Me Out. By the way, thank you guys for everybody who did this. This is awesome. This is amazing. With the third overall pick, Tech Me Out selects for the New York Football Jets, Josh Allen, outside linebacker, Kentucky. If you're not familiar with Josh Allen, and if you didn't watch him play, that's a dang shame because he's one of the most fun players to watch. I mean, he is so fun to watch. He's going to be a great player. His combine, I feel like it didn't match what you see on when he plays on Saturdays. Now he's going to play on Sundays, but it didn't match it. Like, I feel like he's a lot more explosive than just watch him play. It's like, dude, this guy looks like he can run a 4-3. Like, he's so explosive. So, and he's a great tackler. He's got great instincts. He can cover as well as rush, and he's a really good pass rusher. So, I feel like the Jets, if they got Josh Allen, that kind of sucks for us because he's a really, really, really good player, and he's super, super underrated. All right, I don't think anybody picked for 4, right? Maybe someone did pick for the Raiders. Someone did pick for the Raiders. God bless America. And God bless you, Corporate Gamer. Corporate Gamer for the Oakland Raiders, soon to be Las Vegas Raiders, select with the 4th overall pick. They select quarterback Missouri, Drew Lock. That's an interesting pick by Corbett Gamer, and that really kind of messes up the mock draft for me when I have to pick 13, because I definitely want to take a quarterback. Really, my only other option right now is Dwayne Haskins, and we'll see if someone takes him further down the line. But this is an interesting pick for the Raiders. I mean, obviously, you think about, John Gruden and what he wants to establish down there in Oakland. Maybe he's not. There's obviously rumors that he's not happy with Drew Lock. There's also the whole thing, like, who's really making the decisions on draft day? Obviously, John Gruden has major input, but Mike Mayock, he had that comment where he was like, good luck. Very weird situation in Oakland. So we'll see who the heck makes that decision. I feel like if they take a quarterback, that was definitely John Gruden, because I feel like Mike likes Derek Carr. So it's going to be interesting, but I could totally see them doing that. There was rumors that they loved him at the Senior Bowl, and obviously a lot of NFL franchises apparently really like Drew Lock. So I like that pick for them. I think it fits, what they want to get done there. If either way, you have a good asset to trade, and you have a really good backup as well as a starter. So it's not the worst pick. I wouldn't do that necessarily. I feel like I definitely would go for fit, and get a really good player like Quentin Williams or someone like that who can really help out the defense. Because I believe in Derek Carr. Do we have anybody picking 5? Got a lot of people picking 7. Let's see here. Let me look at my. Sometimes I get so who is 5? Okay, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we do have someone picking 5. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. This comes from John. John is going to be picking for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With the 5th overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select defensive tackle Alabama Quentin Williams. This would be a great pick for them. I mean, he's going to be a great player. He's great against the run. He's also a really good pass rusher. He's super athletic. He's so powerful. Like, he's so strong. It's going to be fun to watch him in the NFL, and I feel like the Tampa Bay, obviously they need defensive help. They've been trying to fix this defensive line for a long time, signing Jason Pierre-Paul, Vinny Curry. Who else have they signed in the past? Obviously they extended Gerald McCoy. They've done a lot to try to get this defensive line up and going. They selected Vita Vea, however say his name, from Washington last season. So there's a lot of resources gone to the defensive line, but they just haven't really been able to get it right. So this is a great pick for them. I feel like they'll finally get it right, and they'll get a real piece to build around on the defensive side of the football. So that should definitely go their way in terms of success. We have some other people picking for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well, so I'll definitely do that as well. So I don't know if we'll count this as canon, because it's interesting because there's another guy who picked for the Buccaneers as well, but I definitely want to bring it up. Tavares Johnson picked for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well. He said they would select Devin White. I feel like we'll go with the Quentin Williams pick just because it fits them more, and I feel like Devin White will definitely not be picked in the top 5. But I like the pick. It makes a lot of sense. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lost Quan Alexander to the 49ers. This would be a perfect pick for them. But we'll go with the Quentin Williams pick. No disrespect to Johnson, but I feel like, and he may have actually done it before you, but I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But definitely a shout out there. So 6 is the Giants, obviously. Who picked for the New York Football Giants? Let's see here. Because I might have to take over, guys. I really might have to take over if nobody picked it for them. It doesn't look like anybody picked for the Giants. Juwan Taylor. Let's see here. I'm trying to go through these. No one picked for them. So I'll have to pick for the Giants. So who is really left for them to select? Some great players left. This is a tough one. The Giants need a lot. They need defensive talent. They need offensive talent. Quarterbacks are gone. Dwayne Haskins is the only one really left. I feel like it's a good pick for them. Can learn behind Eli. They just picked Saquon Barkley. They got rid of Landon Collins, their big name defensive guy. They haven't really had a. This is a tough one, dude. So we've taken Nick Bosa, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Drew Lock, Quinnen Williams. Like, really, you talk about Sean Gary, Jonah Williams, Montez Sweat. Some really good prospects here. But do they go quarterback? Gettleman is known for drafting in the offensive and defensive lines. They just signed Nate Solder. This is a tough one, man. This is a tough one. I hope I'm not forgetting any like big name guys. I gotta pick. I gotta pick for him. I feel like Dwayne Haskins. I don't think they're gonna take a quarterback, but Dwayne. I'm gonna give a Dwayne. Well, I can't. I don't think I'm gonna give him Dwayne Haskins. Ooh, this is a tough one, dude. This is a tough one. They're not gonna take it. They're not gonna take someone like T.J. Hawkinson. It just doesn't make any sense. I'll go with Jonah Williams. I feel like they need, someone on the offensive line that can be there for a year. I feel like he's he's gonna be a really good player for a long time. They need offensive line help. He's very versatile. You can play him inside, outside. I feel like it's and Dave Gettleman, known for drafting the meat and potatoes, especially when he was with Carolina. That was most of his, resources directed to that particular side of the ball. So I feel like this is an interesting pick. Next up is number 7 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's see, did anybody pick for the Jags? Let's see here. I feel like this would be a perfect pick for them. John did select for the Jags, and he said they would pick Jonah Williams. I just had the Giants taking him. So we'll go with that pick. I'll change the Giants pick to... I'm trying to think of who the heck they could pick. That would make sense for them. I'll go with Devin White. We'll give them Devin White. How's that? I feel like it's a little high, but... we'll go with that. And then we'll have, for the 7th overall pick with the Jacksonville Jaguars, like, according to John, they will select Jonah Williams. But Devin White's he's going to be a pretty dang good player, so we'll see what happens with them. Who is next? After the Giants and the Jaguars, we have the Detroit Lions. Oh, man, I forgot they picked that high. Let's see, did someone pick for the Lions? I believe John also picked for the Detroit Lions as well. Let's see here. And it's a lot harder to select for teams than a lot of people think. Yeah, John O's as well. He selected for the Lions as well. With the 8th or 9th. I think it's the 8th. Yeah, with the 8th overall pick, the Detroit Lions select cornerback, LSU, Greedy Williams. I like Greedy a lot. I feel like that's a great pick for them. Darius Slay on the other side. They like to play man coverage. They're very New England. Obviously, Matt Patricia there. So they like a lot of man coverage. And he's perfect for that. So, yeah, it's just a very, very, very good pick for them. Obviously, next is the Denver Broncos. And this is an interesting pick for them. Let's see, is anybody at Denver? Let's see here. Denver Broncos. Yeah, John picked for them, but it's Drew Lock. Someone already took Drew Lock. Let's see. I don't think anybody else picked for Denver. No. So I'll have to pick for Denver. They need offensive help. They need a big time guy. They need someone, obviously just Demaryius Thomas is left. Cortland Sutton has looked good, but I don't know if they're really sold on him. Emmanuel Sanders has been on the trade block in the past. Offensive line isn't looking great, and it hasn't been for a while, but they don't have a lot of explosion other than Phillip Lindsay and Emmanuel Sanders. And Phillip Lindsay, there's a question mark there. I feel like I got to give them someone who can catch a pass. So it's really between DK Metcalf or TJ Hawkinson. And this is a tough one. Jawan Taylor's a good one because he's an offensive lineman. And they need offensive line. Dillard is a good one. But they need someone who can catch a pass. I'm gonna give them DK Metcalf. They need an offensive playmaker. They just got Cortland Sutton. They do have Emmanuel Sanders, and Cortland Sutton is an outside guy who can go up and get a ball. But DK Metcalf, obviously this physical freak. Calvin Johnson and Julio Jones like numbers as well statistically and combine wise. Not the greatest route runner in the world. Cone drills were terrible. Tom Brady like numbers in terms of cone drills if you believe in combine numbers. So there's a little bit of a question mark there, but a very, very, very good prospect. And they need offensive line explosion or offensive help, and I feel like DK Metcalf would be a great pick for them there. I was going to give them Jawan Taylor because Garrett Bowles is another garbage can. I mean, he led the league 2 years in a row with holding penalties. But someone else is taking Jawan Taylor, so that's why I didn't do that. And Dillard is also a good one, but I feel like DK Metcalf would be a splash pick for them. I mean, Joe Flacco throws deep anyway, so Cortland Sutton is not the most athletic guy in the world. DK Metcalf, I think, is that transcendent type of a guy who could possibly be a huge home run. So, plus I don't want the Bills to take him. And so, yeah, that's why I picked DK Metcalf for them. I would not be surprised if the Buffalo Bills, or not the Buffalo Bills, the Jets took DK Metcalf. Adam Gase, big offensive guy. They don't have a lot of skill position talent down there in New York other than Le'Veon Bell. I would not be surprised if they took either TJ Hawkinson or DK Metcalf with that third overall pick. I would not be surprised. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But I think either way, hopefully they trade down and don't get anybody. So this next pick, I believe, is the Buffalo Bills. Just let me make sure here. I don't want to get the order messed up. Or did we already pick? So the Buffalo Bills are before the Broncos. I feel like the horse over the carrot. I don't know. Did we do the Buffalo Bills? No, we didn't. I accidentally skipped a team here. John also picked for the Buffalo Bills with the 9th overall pick. The Buffalo Bills select tight end Iowa TJ Hawkinson. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for them. I really hate talking about the Bills, but this is a really, really good pick for them. They need someone on the offensive side of the football other than LaShawn McCoy, he's aging. In terms of like Zay Jones, super inconsistent. The offensive line isn't terrible. They didn't perform that bad. Josh Allen just crapping it. He loves to hang onto the ball and run around, and that's just his playing style. But they need someone for him to be able to throw to and who can consistently get open, and that's a perfect pick for them. So hopefully, that would suck for us. I kind of got the order mixed up there. I apologize for that. So 11 is the Cincinnati Bengals. We're getting close to the Dolphins. So Dwayne Haskins has still not been picked. So we'll see if he could fall to us, but it doesn't look like who knows? We still got two guys who need quarterbacks in front. So the next pick is the Green Bay Packers, I believe. I'll make sure I'm right about that. It's the Cincinnati Bengals, excuse me. So next up, with the 11th overall pick, the Cincinnati Bengals are picking, and let's see who picked for the Bengals. I think it was Ron who picked for the Bengals, if I can remember correctly. Let's see here. I want to make sure that he did. It doesn't look like he did. It looks like Ron picked for them. Ron, with the 11th overall pick, selected quarterback, Ohio State, Dwayne Haskins for the Cincinnati Bengals. So he is off the board, ladies and gentlemen. That means all of the great quarterbacks, at least the A-tier guys, are gone, which sucks. And 12 is the Green Bay Packers. So this is going to make my job really hard. The Green Bay Packers are selecting. Who are they going to pick? We'll see here. With the 12th overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, who is selecting for the Green Bay Packers? Let's see here. Okay, here we go. John is also selecting for the Packers. John, with the 12th overall pick, selects tackle Florida, Jawan Taylor, for the for the Florida Gators, from the Florida Gators there, for the Green Bay Packers. Really don't understand this pick, to be honest with you. This really doesn't fit what they need, necessarily. Obviously, we didn't discuss the Dwayne Haskins Bengals pick. I feel like it's a good pick for them. Andy Dalton sucks. But in terms of the Packers taking a tackle, I don't know. I feel like they don't really need it that bad. But when you look at they've invested a lot in the offense. So it's kind of hard to sit here and say they need it, but they do. I mean, they really do. And they need someone who can catch a pass. But I feel like they can address that in the second round. And to get someone who has the ceiling of Jawan Taylor right there, who's super versatile, I feel like is a good pick for them. I mean, it's a good pick for anybody who takes him, really. So with the 13th overall pick, the Miami Dolphins are up to bat. What are they going to swing and what are they going to hit, ladies and gentlemen? All the quarterbacks are gone. Dwayne Haskins, Drew Lock, Kyler Murray. All the top 3 guys are gone. Obviously, the 4th guy really is the only one left. Man, this is tough. As you hear pugs bark in the back. I'm trying to think of all the prospects. It's hard to... I wish I had a list in front of me. I should have wrote this down. But who is really left to be taken? I mean, there's obviously a lot of good ones. Ed Oliver is still here. Greedy Williams is gone. Quinn Williams is gone. Montez Sweat is here. That's an intriguing one. Christian Wilkins. Who else is here? I feel like there's someone else that's here. DK Metcalf is obviously gone. DK Metcalf. Ooh, Bush from Michigan, the linebacker. He's here. My personal favorites right now are still available. When you talk about Ed Oliver and Montez Sweat. And we need a defensive lineman who can rush the passer and who can be dominant in that area. And I feel like that's where I'm leaning. All the offensive linemen have been taken. I mean, Dillard is there, but I feel like, I don't think he's worth. I don't think he's better than Montez Sweat or Ed Oliver. I know Montez has the heart condition that might hurt his stock. But I don't really want to think about all that. It hurts my head. So I'm just thinking about what is available, positional need, versatility. Really what I'm really thinking about right now between the two is Ed Oliver, could I get him if I traded down? And I'm trying to think if I could. I mean, you think about the people that are behind me. Atlanta, Washington, Carolina. And I don't think I would. I don't think I would get Ed Oliver. I feel like those teams want to address that type of a position. And I feel like I like Ed Oliver enough to pick him there, but I also like Montez Sweat a lot, and I want to make sure I'm gonna look at my prospect list here and make sure I haven't passed on anybody. And I know I'm taking a lot of time on the clock. Hey, Commissioner, just do me a solid. But I want to make sure that I'm not missing anybody here. So let me pull this up. All right. Oh, Farrell from Clemson. I like Ed Oliver more, though. Obviously, Bush. Oh, man, this is a tough one. There's no one really left. Noah Fant, but we don't want a tight end. Rashawn Gary. I like Rashawn, but he really didn't do this. Like, he put up great I feel like he's a combine guy. I mean, he didn't really do a ton in college. I think Chase Winovich is going to be a better player. We get him in the second round. All right, so it's really for me, it's really between Montez Sweat and Ed Oliver. In a real-life scenario, we could get Montez Sweat if we traded down because of the heart condition. Maybe. He's a tremendous athlete. He's double-sack guy in college. He has everything that you would want. He's a dominant edge rusher, dude. It's hard not to do it. I'm going to go with it. But here's the reason why I wouldn't do it, is because of the heart condition thing. I don't think it's realistic, but, Maurice Hurst just went through the same thing, and he was just fine. In terms of talent level, you talk about Ed Oliver and Montez Sweat, I feel like it's really equal. The heart condition thing is the weird one. But I like Montez Sweat more than I do Rashawn Gary. He's up there. I like Nick Bosa. I think it's just a tough one. I haven't really decided yet. I like Ed Oliver a lot, too. And Ed Oliver can penetrate from the middle. and you can move him around, and he can stop the run. A lot of people question his consistency, though. This is a tough one, ladies and gentlemen. Montez Sweat had a tremendous combine. He ran faster than, or he ran the same speed as Julio Jones as a defensive end. This is the Dolphins' war room, all right? You're inside of it. I hope there's no one that is really like screaming right now, like I'm forgetting him. Looking at Montez Sweat's sack numbers, he had 8.5 this particular season. In 2017, he had 10.5. Let's look at that all over. I just want to make sure. I want all the numbers in front of me right now. I watched both of them play. Don't worry about it. Watch multiple games of them and cut-ups of them. Let's see here. It's just tough, dude. I mean, we look at Ed Oliver's numbers. Obviously, he's an interior guy, so it's a little bit skewed. You know what? I'm going to go with Ed Oliver. With the 13th overall pick, the Miami Dolphins select defensive lineman Houston, Ed Oliver. And the reason I'm going with Ed Oliver, potential is ridiculous. Is it more potential, though, than it is substance? And what do you like? I feel like Christian Wilkins. I wouldn't be mad if somebody said, "Hey, Christian Wilkins, I would rather have him." In Farrell as well, but I feel like this guy is I think he could be something special, and he was something special in college when you looked at some of the special things that he did. The question is, and the criticism I would have if the Dolphins did take out Oliver, could you get him if you traded down? Probably not. When you think about some of the players or the teams that are there, and is he better than a player like a Montez Sweat? Definitively. And there's no really way of knowing, and I'm really just projecting here. So I'm going with that Oliver. I feel like it's a good pick. It's a solid pick. I like Ed Oliver a lot. I mean, he's pushed guards to the ground like it's nothing. He's super fast. I feel like you can't. People have said it in the past that you can't have. You really just want him to just go and do his own thing. Like, just go and attack. Just go be you. He's not necessarily someone you can pigeonhole because of his physical, freak. You can't have him just play in, like, the nose tackle position. You can't be like, hey, he's too small to take on two people. Like, he can't take, especially in the running game, he cannot be a nose tackle. But I think he's especially in our multiple front defense, it's an interesting fit for him. But I feel like he's versatile enough that we could play him on the edge as well. And he could have his hand in the dirt and be just fine. I feel like on third downs we could play him on the edge on a tackle. And we could be creative with him. And I feel like he would be super successful. But he cannot be a nose tackle. He's too small. He can't take on a guard in his center. And that's the criticism of him. And there's some consistency issues there as well. I don't think so. And there's some off the field things as well. I feel like he'll be fine. But in terms of his physical and what you see when he plays, like, there's not much better than him. So that's why I selected Ed Oliver. I think his versatility, if you use him correctly, he can be a game wrecker each and every single Sunday in a lot of variety of different ways. He can beat your tackle as well as your guard or center. So I feel like that's good enough. And he can get pressure in the inside on third down if you wanted to, or on the outside. And he's so athletic that he's an athletic freak. Like, if he sheds, dude, he's like, you're gone, and you're getting tackled. He's a very sound guy, and he forces fumbles. He gets the ball out of the quarterback's hand when he gets to the ball, and he can stop the run. He just cannot. You can't tell him to take. My point is you don't want him to be a nose tackle. Like, that's not what you want to tell him to do. You really just want to tell him to go out there and wreck defenses. Which is fine. I feel like that's fine. But you got to understand the player you're taking. And if you understand that and utilize him the right way, he can be a game wrecker. But I do understand the critique of him being just selected there and why he's not the greatest fit in the world. Like, a Christian Wilkins is more of a traditional guy. He's great with his hands. He does nothing wrong. He can play the nose tackle position. He's a pretty decent pass rusher. Like, he might fit the scheme more, but Ed Oliver, I think, is versatile, and he's a game wrecker. And he could be a very, 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 very transcendent-like player if everything goes right. So that is it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed. It was a really good episode. I enjoyed making it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to it. I am Skagster1083. Next time we're going to be talking to each other, it will be after the draft, and we're going to have so much to talk about. So I can literally not wait to see you guys in the next one, and we'll find out who the Dolphins select number 1 overall and in the second and third rounds as well.